won't trada. Oh, yummy, Mara, no dear, not better. I don't know him, won't so won't trada.
can manage our finances properly. So, without wasting much time, I would like to introduce to you Elder George KABAMBE from Wellington Church.
Elder George KABAMBE on
So this time I'm going to give you some of these notes. Take notes, note down the points. If you have questions, when the time comes up to ask your question, you do so.
Nkrata bi wo ha si am echiche e dia mamu wa timi atro no betimi atro bibi abra o kasa no asembisa bi nso betimi atro e dru time a ye acceptance na na fe watimi abisa no yiwa no.
I would like to say that this is a personal, you have to take interest in what you have to hear, and any questions that you have, personally or for the family or whatever questions you have to note them down and ask the question. When time permits, we'll be able to go through the questions and give answers.
Who was in Bissabia? So say one can say you what down for be now, of course, it can someone with me besides and Bisa Aman or the family and if you watch it.
I believe those at the hall they went well. If they all can join us, that would be great. As I said, it would help us personally, individual, as we all listen to this presentation. So without wasting much, I'll call George KABAMBE to take the floor.
Thank you so much for your time. It's great to be here again.
Madam was say, Mumbra, no,
I don't know if you know our quarterly for next year will be on finance.
Next quarter,
Yeah, so this is something that's quite important for us as a church to know and understand.
And to where I did here, I say,
Okay, so I'm going to move quite quickly, but first and foremost, let me just have a look and see if it's attached now.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, fine. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so this is part 2, but the topic is still the same. How to create and manage wealth in light of the fast fulfilling signs of Christ's coming.
Yes, way of etosu emienu na nso enyanimu nsam no eye ne ye kan ye ofedi kan na okwan ye befa so ne atoto ye nsikasam ye abra ye twen Yesu Kristo ma ye etosu no.
Okay, and these are the topics we'll cover, but not in order. We'll touch some of them quickly. Some of them we've discussed before, but these are what you're going to be looking at.
In fact, ne ye kumfoni no so no niema ye ba betwe ye ka bi kakra bi so ye di kan kadada na ye be kan ansem ni na say egu mfoni no so.
And you know, we looked at Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 to 17, and we know that this is the issue concerning the last days.
We adise mumano muma na afi kutuye na echre niema ebisi ewo yemre no.
And the Bible says that no man shall buy or sell save he that has the mark or the number of his name, or the mark of the beast or the number of his name.
Yes, and it was some idea dance no obia entimi and ton and I so me and ton say or aboa no.
So the final crisis in the last days will involve buying and selling.
Enti yemre no de edi be cans no pa ejina say ton na fe ton.
So the Bible is very clear that everything that we have in terms of wealth will be consolidated.
And teachers and daddy be fefe niema bi aye wo ya japade no e wo say Yesu suchina.
And in Revelation chapter 18, you discover this system called Babylon, and it controls all the wealth and all the power, all the silver and all the gold. So if we and our families are clued up on these issues, there may be a problem because, again, the final events will involve buying and selling.
And of course, young first answer we near Shannon Swap. Yabenya of house and we am running now, maybe Genasi Tom Nafieto.
Okay, fine. You got the statement from many writings. Again, it talks about what Satan wants to do with your money. And he says that we must keep all the money in our ranks. The more money they have, the more they will injure our subjects. And it says, control the money matters if you can. So Satan knows that money is a powerful tool that can be used in the furtherance of God's work. So he wants to make sure he controls the money.
Sanya obonsam no pese onim sene sika etie sene sene sika betimi abo nyankopon adwuma ma na akoso nti okwan bia no opese sika ebedi ne nsam na watimi ede aye niema emmoa ema onyankopon asam enkoso.
And money becomes important because in order to build churches, send missionaries, do evangelism, print tracts, print great controversy, you need money to do that.
Sika yadi nya pasan se ansa na betimi atintim nkrata nyina ye kan na nyankopon asam akoso nyina no ejina sika so.
Okay, so therefore money becomes important, and this is why we need to discuss about money.
Enti sikasem nya pa enunti wo se ye sikasem ho nkyerkyere.
And many times when we discuss about money in a church, I don't know why people get nervous, but again, the Bible is very clear about money, and so is the spirit of prophecy.
Stembia beka sikasem asem wasafo mu ya na amanfo eho epopo kakra nanso ne tibia no chosem ka sikasem na kana difo nsem nso eka sikasem as.
And today is this in testimony to the church. It is God who gives men the power to get wealth. Money is to be earned by labor. Every youth should be trained in habits of industry. The Bible condemns no man for being rich if he has acquired his riches honestly. Wealth will provide a blessing if we regard it as the Lord's, to be received with thankfulness and returned to the giver.
Eyo nyankopon enema etumi me ede nya esika na chosem nso enkuntia se ubenya sika na emu se ubenya sika na ade aboa onyankopon adwuma no eno na esika ka ho asem.
And then finally she says, Christ object lessons here, money is a great value because it can do great good. In the hands of God's children, it is food for the hungry, drink for the thirsty, clothing for the naked. It is a defense for the oppressed and a means to help the sick.
Sanya Christ object lesson so can osisika eya dia nya pasan se di onyankopon enkrofo nsama eboa ehwe ahiafo nyanka na wona komdem na wonso efra wona agada adagya no nso ntuma.
Okay, nice. Before we go to this topic, I'm going to just give you two more quotes and then we move on. So I want to make sure we understand the Christian relationship towards money, so that when I focus on money from now on, you understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
when Christ died, two members of the Sanhedrin, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, came to the aid of the disciples.
Abra Christo wu ye no edimienu a wabo no omo ba ebebo ye Christo ni wu no.
These were both members of the Sanhedrin, and all of them were wealthy and powerful and very influential.
We no nyin sakofo mienu no omo ye nkofo a omo sika na afi otumi no nkanso a ebunu.
Okay, and then she says here in Desire for Ages, page 773, it says here, while the disciples feared to show themselves openly as his followers, Joseph and Nicodemus came boldly to their aid.
Joseph and Nicodemus,
and then she goes on to say, the help of these rich and honored men was greatly needed at this time. They could do for their master what was impossible for the poor disciples to do. And then she goes on to say, their wealth and their influence protected the disciples in great measure from the malice of priests. So therefore money is important because again in the hands of Christians you can do good with it. Okay, so what we're saying here is that to Christians you can get out of debt if you're struggling.
say a Christian obesity a free a come say
you can build savings for you and your family and your children. You can increase your wealth, accelerate your wealth. You can still give to the cause of God and retire with dignity.
And I think and
you can create a lasting legacy for the people you love. And this is important because we're going to discuss this later on. We must be able to leave a legacy for the people we love. You find that poverty and perpetual cycle of poverty always hangs around amongst our people. Because again, we're not planning to leave a long-lasting legacy for the people we love. Okay, fine. And again, you know this verse, Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. But you shall remember the Lord your God, because it is He who gives you the power to get wealth. And there are many other scriptures which say the same thing. So the first step is wealth accumulation. So how do we do that? The first step as Christians is that we must control our debt. If you do not control your debt will control you. And right now in the UK we have a debt to income ratio of 40%. So it means that when you get paid, at least 40% of your income is going to service your debts. It is my hope this information you get to a point where you keep more of your money so that you can use your money for the good. And it's also important to understand as Christians, the debt we leave behind when we die can end up impacting the people whom we leave behind. So it's very important that if I was to die today, I make sure that my family is secure, that they don't have any debts that are lingering behind. Because when I die, my death certificate and everything else goes to probate. And in probate, the courts decide what I owe. So if I owe something, then that has to be paid first before the money goes to my wife and my children. And so therefore, what I'm saying to you is, what would your life be like if you did not have any debt? And because again, money gives you the freedom to do the things that you cannot do now. If I was to say to you, let's go for an evangelism trip, let's go for a missionary trip, or a job is going to impede you. If I say, can you take 3 days or 5 days off work? You cannot, because you have to work. So money gives you an option that you can decide when to work, not when you have to work. So in your toolbox, your number one world building tool is your income, the money you get every month when you get paid. So now if that money is going to service debts, then it's going to be difficult for you to build your income. Okay, fine. So we talk about having an emergency fund. It's not coming on the screen, but if you can give me a hand here. So emergency fund. There it is. Sorry, thank you. So emergency fund. Can anybody tell me what's an emergency fund? Anyone? Emergency fund. Money you put aside in case of emergency. That's very true. Money you put aside in case of emergency. Yeah, and that's very true. So we recommend that every family to have 3 to 6 months of your income saved as an emergency.
The extra says, oh, you see, I was baby and Sunny, Siasica, would the two Nanka, a yam for musica.
It is going to rain sometime. Sooner or later, there is something that is going to cost you money.
We name and Chibia Biwa, a baby Sia, a baby.
If you do not have an emergency fund, when something hits you, then you're going to go into problems.
And it's a wound for musica. Or however,
so normally people who are wealthy do not have emergencies.
And so
they have inconveniences. Okay, so therefore why? Because they've got money set aside. So therefore there's a problem with the car. If there is a funeral, they are taking money from money that's already stored up. So therefore that thing which is meant to be a crisis for somebody with no money becomes an inconvenience.
Stan said now on the Sika at what that say how we buy me call Sikanu echo far at the idea or something.
And Proverbs very clear. Proverbs says, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide or overseer provides meat in the summer and gathers food in the harvest.
I said Proverbs no man can young one holding Kusia. Sa abuano or no dear or share Biane de Sua Sanya Baya, I drew a combra or betimiaco, Serbian body.
In the summer, there is more food.
In
the winter, the ground is hard and there is less food. So the ant knows that you gather as much as you can during times of peace so that you can use this money later or use this food later on. And the Bible is very clear, the borrower is slave to the lender. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 7. So many of us don't have change on our hands. But the change we have is Visa, MasterCard, BMW, Mercedes-Benz. All those things are creating debt to you. Okay, so therefore it's quite important for us as Christians to understand that the devil uses debt as one of those tools to control our money. And if you look at this young lady here, she's got a £7,000 credit card, which is a Barclays card. She's paying 29% interest. She's paying £175 per month. But by the time she pays off a debt in 2036, she would have paid £40,000 and £33,000 in interest.
And 2036 no naneka adu 40,000 na interest a obetui a wo ho kwa 33,000.
Yes, so 7,000 becomes 40,000, and this is happening in many people's homes.
7,000 okode kanu na so obetui 40,000 sadi ekoso wa 50 bebremu.
So we need to be careful as Christians. When you get that debt and you begin to pay, these companies understand that people will not pay the full amount. And before long, you've got a new car. Before long, you've got something else on credit. Before long, you are drowning in debt because of this.
And you know, omo this man
So as Christians, the first thing we need to do again is to make sure we write down our debts. We do a budget, see how much is coming in and how much is going out, how much we owe, and we have a plan of how to tackle the debt that we owe.
And yeah, Christopher was saying, "Ye musika ye ne musika ye beti ediatua ye na fi yetimia adisanhye."
Now we talk about savings. If you do not save for the future, you have no future. And there is no magic formula for building wealth. The formula is you cannot spend more than you earn. Spending is a habit, and so is saving. As Christians, as Adventists, we must get into a habit of saving money. And for most of us, it's not our salary that makes us rich, it's your spending habits. It doesn't matter how much money you earn. If you do not save it properly, you'll still be like anybody else. Did you know that if you are earning £25,000 a year, if you multiply that by 40 years, that's almost £1 million.
So 25,000. Now we kick 40 years. That's 1 million and one second.
So which means during your working life, many of you are making $1 million, $2 million, or $3 million. So again, it doesn't matter how much you earn, it's about what you keep that counts. Okay, fine. So it's always better to be rich than to buy things to pretend that you're rich.
Yes,
so many of us are spending money we don't have, buying things we don't need to impress people who don't care about us. Driving fancy cars to show people in church, but you're struggling in debt. So you need to know where you are going. You cannot spend your money on things that depreciate. The moment you buy a car, it begins to depreciate. Rich people do not spend money on things that depreciate. They spend their money on things that grow in value, not a BMW. You and your wife know where you want to go. You and your husband know what you want to achieve. So therefore, you must be able to do things that other people are not doing, so that in the future you can afford things other people cannot afford. So once you've done the first two things, you manage to clear down your debts. Now you begin to do some savings. You get to the point where you begin to accelerate your wealth. And to say, okay, fine. And there's a verse there from Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 19, to show how God has given wealth and riches and has empowered men to eat from them. So again, wealth is something that God gives you. And this is a problem we have every time when we talk about these issues. In 25 years, I meet a young couple. And they say we can't save, we're just starting a family. Soon they are 40 years old. They've got a mortgage, they have children. And they say, well, we're still struggling because of the mortgage and children, so they're still struggling at that point in time.
Until we drew 40 years,
Soon they are 50 years old, they've got kids in university, and before long, they are 68 years and nothing has been saved.
University, and so still
that's why the numbers are showing that 95% of people are retiring with not enough income.
MF 66 USJ betimi akotu kana na wama nipa na timi akọ MF 6 USJ oka no am say nizam ntino wasi obi kwan ha betimi akotu ka.
Okay, thank you very much. So 95% of people are retiring with not enough money. The numbers do not lie. Out of every 100 workers who are retiring, 1 is wealthy, 4 are financially independent, 41 are still working, and 54 are dead broke.
Bakonso sikasemu no woye kra na afinso ohamu aduana bakonso odaso eye adwuma so na okwa ahogemu no so de kra de ni hwe kra.
If we do not do anything, most of us will be in the 54%.
Say yanya bibia anto a yemu beba beka ohamu aduanu enan.
And you know how people fall in the 54%?
Na wunim okwan fa so a womo a munni hwe na abro mko ahogemu no wunim okwan fa so mo.
They simply do nothing.
Womo de wonya hwe.
So if you just go on as you're doing without planning, there's a chance you'll be in the 54%. The numbers are clear. So therefore, how can then we leave a legacy to the people we love if we do not plan? No one wins at anything by accident. Whatever you do, you have to be disciplined. The choir was just singing now. What are they doing? Being disciplined, practicing. So with everything in life, you have to be disciplined. You have to plan. Okay, so let's move on. So what we're saying to people is that pay yourself first. What do we mean? When you get paid, you need to set aside 5 or 10% of your money and you save that amount of money. So obviously as artists we return our tithe and then obviously then we take some money and then we use that money to save that money for the future. So this is very important, and again there are many formulas people can use. Some people use a formula called 30, 10%, and the Jews use this formula. So 10% is for tithe, 30% is for investment, 30% is to live on, 30% is for an emergency.
And then say, "Oh, you type now, or say me the 30% miscano, maybe 30%, maybe better work for that 30%. So maybe
and that's very important. Again, for young couples who are just starting, it's very important that once you do your budget, you decide who's bringing in the most amount of money. You can see that from the pay slip. And then you say to yourselves, let us see if we can survive on one salary.
Okay, and the old Chinese says, Moye, our refoa, Tamu trans, Nambian, Nisika, do if you are. Now, what does no one who say? And you say, bet to me, depending on Bakusika.
So therefore, if my wife is bringing more money, so we live on her salary, which means that the money I'm bringing in is not used to save for the future.
And it is Okunu and Sika Edoswa, Mubet Akase, and your young used to Okunisika. Now, or you're any
Now, when you get your money, where do you put it? You put your money at home or do you put it in the bank? Because if you put your money in the bank, we know there is a problem today and there's been a problem of inflation. So inflation just simply means that your money is not growing fast enough. So in other effect, when you put your money in the bank, you're actually losing money.
And
because the cost of living is coming more and more, so that means that your money is not growing fast enough to meet the cost of living. So look at that example. Can you believe it? £1,000 inflation 2.5%, after 5 years it's now £884, just at 2.5%. Can you imagine now when inflation is in the double digits? So that means that your money in the bank is not growing. We have £1,000, but now affect maybe 600 or 500. Why? Because of inflation.
Inflation 2.5 per Emma estimate ebeye 884 abrana onye
So therefore, as Christians, we must figure out where can we put our money to grow faster than the rate of inflation. Okay, so here are three young people from church. You got Tess, Mike, and Jake. So all of them have £1,000. And they take this money, they put it in a place where it's going to grow and not touch it until they reach retirement. So it's £1,000, one-off payment into any vehicle, and they don't touch it until retirement. So one of them gets a place that's giving him 3% interest. Other one is getting 6% interest. The other one 9% interest. So after the money has been invested, Jake, for his return 3%, he had £7,400. So not bad. £1,000 paid off one-off, he gets £7,400. So Mike gets a place where he gets 6% interest on his £1,000. So the assumption is that if Jake got 7,000 for 3%, so therefore Mike may get double the amount of money.
3% and 7,400. Not 6%
But that is not how compounding interest works. Mike gets 55,000.
Mike 55,000.
Because compounding interest is interest upon interest upon interest. This is what the banks use when you get a credit card. When you get a credit card, they put interest upon interest. So that money, you're paying it to the bank.
Now, if
you look at the test, she got 9%, a place where she gets 9% interest on her money. And that 9% gives her almost $500,000. So it's very important to know where you put your money. You must figure out a place where you can put your money so that your money grows faster than inflation. Because when you put your money in a place where it grows, it means that you get more returns than anything else. One of the places where you can put your money, besides investments, which we'll talk about again, is simply in property.
Because
in property, you're getting 6 to 8% year-on-year growth.
So as
Christians, we must understand, because again, when we have this money, this is money that God has given us, and we are to use it wisely. Yeah, so again, for us to understand as Christians that saving money is not enough, it's the same as making money. So we need to think of ways in which our money can grow faster. One of the things that many people are doing, I don't know whether some of you are doing, I'm doing it at farming, not here, back home. And there is this article here, which is in the paper. It says African farmers are making more money producing organically grown crops for European markets. And this research shows that nearly 5,000 farmers in Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Ghana, Senegal, Sierra Leone are exporting organically grown produce to Europe. So again, this is something that people can do. Just an example, did you know that the avocado market in the UK is worth 33 million pounds? Just the avocado market. And where this avocado is grown? In Africa. So again, many countries are now also exporting avocados to China, and we're talking about billions of pounds. So it's something that we need to think about. So again, saving money is not the same as making money. Just one point before I move on. If you look at the example from Ukraine, Ukraine is a small country. But 25% of the maize that is grown and sold around the world is grown in Ukraine. About 20% of the flour comes from Ukraine that is exported. Most countries in Africa import grain from Ukraine. Just one country, Ukraine, over 450 million people around the world depend upon Ukraine for maize and flour. Ukraine, 450 million. So again, these are things that we need to think about. Okay, now just quickly for those who have this, again, paying off your mortgage is very important because again, when you pay it faster, it means you are free of your debt and you can do other things with your money. Can you believe a 25-year mortgage, if you decide you and your husband, you and your wife to pay an extra £100 a month towards your mortgage?
£100 account every month.
In this example, you will save yourself 2 years, 9 months of paying mortgage.
25 years, I save 2 years, 9 months. £100.
Just £100. So you save yourself 2 years, 9 months, not to count the interest and the money paid. So it is important that you need to decide, what do we do with this extra money? Okay, should we put it towards our mortgage, then we pay off our mortgage quicker, and then you can use that money to do God's will. Okay, again, if family puts in an extra £1,000, if they can do that again, they save 13 years. So it's very important to understand that what you do with your money now can take you further.
£1,000, 13 years, 9 months now between me,
and just a few ways just to think about before we move on. So number one, you can call your mortgage lender and decide to have a shorter mortgage term. That's number one. You can make extra monthly payments towards your mortgage as well. That will reduce your mortgage. You can make a single extra payment, a lump sum every year. Maybe on your birthday, maybe whenever you make a single lump sum, say £3,000, £5,000 towards your mortgage. That will bring it down.
After so, bet me, I say, if you have moon, you have a 5,000 now to be
And then finally, overpaying when interest rates are low means that you have a smaller mortgage to pay when interest rates are higher, like now.
No, say time interest rate there is kind of to some Tiana say, I will come out with me Tiana Sunny Bayas, interest rate cost around and should be.
So there were people who got mortgages when the interest rate was 2%, 1.something%, and these were fixed for 5 years. And now when they come to an end, the mortgages have gone up. So instead of paying maybe £800, it's now 1,200, 1,500. What will you do?
Until a boom interest no ever for ma na Tiana Pebre. Say interest no echo Siana so Tiana Cassia actually.
Okay, thank you very much. So, if writing, you've got questions, you come to this, but I think write them down, and that's why you got those pieces of papers. Now we're going to come to an important point. This is the word protection. And we say to you, is your biggest asset protected? Now, I'm going to spend time with this because this is very important. As Adventists, as Christians, we understand this because some of us have a mistaken notion concerning what I'm going to talk about. Now, most of us follow this timeline. That most of us follow this life timeline. So first you get married, then you have children, then you buy your house, and then you retire. That's a journey that most of us will travel. But when you travel this journey, anything can happen to you. Because there's no guarantee you're going to move from number 1 to number 4. What can happen to you? You could become very sick. You could lose your job. You could die. Anything can happen to you. So if anything happens to you, what do you have in place? Because we do understand from the book of Job and from the quarterly we were studying about crucibles that bad things happen to good people.
Yes, and Job
so as Christians, we must be able to think ahead and plan in case something bad happens to you. So this is very interesting. So you got a family here. I don't know if you can see this. So you got a husband and wife and children, John and Mary, and the one for kids. Okay, so John is working, bringing in £2,000 a month. His wife Mary is bringing in £2,500. So total income per month is £4,500. After they pay off their mortgage and expenses, it comes to £4,200, and they've got a balance of £300. So John and Mary need each other to work. It's because their individual salaries are not enough to sustain the family. Right now I am working, my wife is working. If my wife was to lose a job, I may manage, but it's going to be difficult. If I lose my job, my wife may manage, but it's going to be difficult. But if someone goes to work tomorrow, he does not come home. He has a heart attack or a car accident. What goes with him? What goes with him? How much?
2,000.
It's £2,000 that he's bringing in. So immediately half of the income has left the house. So you can imagine the family, husband and wife, were just managing on 2 salaries. And just about. Now 50% is gone. So we need to understand as Christians that John and Mary have 3 roles going on at the same time. John is a husband, he is a father, he is a provider.
John oye okunu afin so saye papa na afin no asa na ode eduane ba fie.
And Mary is a mother, she's a wife, she's a provider.
Mary so sa na so ne de tie.
Just like some of you today, you wear 3 roles at the same time.
Sene binumu ye sene bi tie si no sa ye woni ma me san ye no fie.
Now John is dead.
John ni go bi.
So 2000 is gone.
2000.
Multiply that by 12, that's 24,000. So this is 24,000 that would have come into the family if John was alive. If you multiply that by 10, that's 240,000 pounds, which this family has lost because the husband has died.
240,000
But if John was insured for 240,000 pounds, that means it would replace his income for the next 10 years. So again, 2,000 pounds times 12 times 10, 240,000 pounds. The husband has died. This money will still take care of the family for the next 10 years. So this is important as Christians. You need to think about what happens to you today if you were to leave your wife and your children. How will they cope? And this is very interesting that us as Adventists, as Christians, we have car insurance, you've got mobile phone insurance, you've got travel insurance, but yet you cannot insure yourself. Because bad things are happening to good people. Because you need to understand that when somebody dies, there are 2 types of losses. There is the emotional loss. The hugs, the kisses, the happy Valentines, the daddy I love you. That's the emotional loss. That is gone. And on top of that, you've got the financial loss. And again, these things are happening. They're happening to people in church. You know people who have lost loved ones. You know husbands who have died. You know wives who have died. And children have been left with nothing. And as wives, this is something that you need to take care of. Again, sometimes as husbands, they may be stubborn, but as wives, you need to think about this thing and think about it carefully. 70% of husbands die married. 70% of husbands die married. And 70% of wives die single.
Oh, okay.
So it is not, the numbers don't lie, that usually men die first before women. Usually because men tend to marry women younger than themselves. Men tend to deal with more stress. Women tend to handle stress better than women.
A man to me handle stress same me.
So there's a high chance that I can die first before my wife.
And you know,
so what I'm saying to the wives here, make sure if anything happens to your husband, make sure that things are taken care of, because 70% of the time it is you and the children who will suffer simply because your husband has chosen not to prepare for the inevitable.
Yes, a man should supply yes, and say, be contempt, and to say, Bibisa, when I was 7 moments, bread, and she be or no, moye.
Nobody should ever leave their children in this situation whereby husband and wife has died and uncle is gone on a GoFundMe page to raise some money.
Can you say that?
No, I can't say that. Okay, so we should never leave our children in a state whereby husband and wife have died and uncle is gone on a GoFundMe page to raise somebody.
Yeah. Person say
Okay, fine. Because what would the quality of their lives be? Okay, fine. So I'm trying to put the slide on, but it's not coming on. But let's see.
What is that?
Okay, it's not coming. Okay. Okay. Okay, so while this is being sorted again, it's something that you need to think about because again, tomorrow is not guaranteed. So again, just make sure you prepare for what is to come. Is that okay? Okay, while this is sorted, while this is being arranged, any questions you want to ask me for the time being? Anything?
Okay, Ms. Elder, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
My question is, you said that you should pay yourself first. So, for example, you earn maybe £1,000 in a month, and then your mortgage is maybe 900. You want to pay yourself first. Why would you stay to be able to work and survive? So what is your advice here?
Yeah, that is a good question. And again, in this case, then it becomes an issue because again, you sort of overstretched yourself. Because it's very important that when we get our mortgages, that we make sure that our income, most of it is not eroded. So if you're getting a mortgage where 900 is going, if you get a mortgage where most of your salary, 90% is going to service the mortgage, then you overstretch yourself. So therefore, you don't do anything. Can you imagine if that happens and something happens to you? How are you going to manage? So make sure of this when you get, and in that case, when the mortgage lender gives you a mortgage, they always look at your budget as well. So they'll never overstretch you because that's what happened with the prime mortgage when many people lost their homes. So therefore, they cannot give you a mortgage where you cannot afford. So if 90% of your money is going to the mortgage, then it's difficult. Okay, fine. So I'm just going to move on a little bit. I'm just trying to show something on the screen, but it's not coming off. It's coming. Okay, fine, yeah. So this is a picture of me. I've got 3 children, 3 girls. This is before the last one was born. And for me, the issue was very simple. And the question for me was very clear. If I die today, my insurance policy will provide for my family what I would have provided if I was still around. So it will pay for any debts that I may have. It will leave an income for my wife for the next 4 years. So that she's not in a hurry to get a second husband. Why? Because the first husband has left her enough money. Because you've got women who are marrying just because the husband has died, they've got no one to look after themselves. It will pay for the mortgage. It will pay for the mortgage. And you will leave some extra money for the children. So when I die, I now enrich my family. I do not impoverish them. When I die, I give, I do not take. Have you heard of families whereby the husband has died and the wife is figuring out how on earth they are going to manage? They barely have enough money to bury their husband. Because this is why you need this, because after you've gone, the people you love will still be here. If I die today, the people I love will still be here. And the bills don't stop coming because I've died. Life continues. This is important for us to understand, and this is why I'm spending some time on this. Number two, when you talk about insurance again, what is the chance of you becoming ill as you get older? Most of us think that the worst thing that can happen to us is dying prematurely. Yes, true, but also the second worst thing to happen for you is to become critically ill. Did you know that every 2 minutes somebody is being diagnosed with cancer? Every 5 minutes somebody is having a heart attack. Every 7 minutes somebody is having a stroke. So these things are happening. Are they happening to God's people? Yes, they happen to God's people. So therefore, what I'm saying to you is that if anything was to happen to you, what plan do you have if you cannot work? Where will your income come from if you cannot work, if you are sick? If you're a bus driver, if you're an electrician, if you're a builder, if you're a painter, if you have a stroke, you can't work anymore. Now, if you cannot work, what happens to your income? It goes down. And what happens to expenses? They go up. And if you do not understand that sickness and long-term health problems strain on the family. So number one, you are sick, you cannot work, but the bills are coming. What plan do we have in place if anything happens to you, knowing that one of us, 1 in 2, can get cancer, can get sick, can die? Okay, so again, it's important. So again, what I'm saying to people is that get as much cover as you can, because when you need it, it may be too late. Okay, so most Adventists fall into 4 main groups. The first group is that some people believe that God will take care of me, nothing is going to happen to me, God has told me I don't need insurance, so I'm fine. Some people have different reasons, they cannot afford it. Whatever the case might be, all I'm saying is that just make sure you think about this.
In
case of 2 Adventist widows, there were 2 families, Adventists, raising up their kids, homeschooling. So husband was working, wife is not working. Both husbands died. In one of the family, the wife has to struggle now. She cannot do homeschooling anymore. She has to find a job. So the first job is not paying. She gets a second job. So therefore the kids are not being homeschooled, and the kids, the family struggles throughout. Still coming to church, but they struggle throughout. The family number 2, an Adventist again, husband dies, but because the husband had planned in advance. He had left everything in place. So when he passed away, A lump sum of money came to the wife. She does not have to work anymore. Okay, so therefore she can continue homeschooling her children. She can continue watching them grow and live a life that is comfortable. Both Adventist women, same church. Which one have the better testimony? So again, it is important for us to try, because again, after we have gone, after you've died, the people you love will still be here. So in the Adventist church, but many single parents. And as a single parent, if you fall sick or if you pass away, it's going to affect your child. One of the most unkind things that you can do is to ask somebody to take care of your child and do not provide the financial resources. Because now that person who you've left in charge of your child or children is filled with the grief of losing you, and again is filled with the anger of not providing those resources. And finally, I'm going to speak to young people on this before I finish on this point of insurance. There are two things that determine life insurance: your age and your health. The younger you are, the cheaper it is. So while you're still young and healthy, make sure you get as much as you can, because when you're older, it becomes more expensive, and by then you may have health conditions. And number two, if you are single and you are here in the UK, maybe your family is back home in Ghana, if you are supporting them, what happens if you become critically ill? How are you going to support yourself? So it's something that you can think about. And number three is that if you pass away, what's going to happen to the people whom you support? And to say, okay, two nurses are here in the UK from Sierra Leone. Okay, both of them are single. Both of them are working in the NHS. Okay, both of them are sending £500 back home. Many of us are sending money back home. So these two nurses are supporting their families back home. One of them says, well, let me just get this insurance. I don't know, but just get it. She gets an insurance policy, she's paying it. And she gets a cover for £240,000. And insurance now for insurance. When you cover 240. One of them says, when I don't need it, I wouldn't get married. Both these two nurses get COVID and they die. Nurses. Their bodies are returning back to their country. Some funerals and in one funeral, the funeral takes place and the child is buried, and that's the end. No money comes in because the girl himself. Second family. But in the second family, you have this girl who's got a policy for £240,000. That £500 will be equivalent to sending £500 every month, not for 10 years, not for 20 years, not for 30 years, for the next 40 years. It will support the whole village for the next 40 years. Because why? When she died, she had a policy.
Sa 500 na de koma busia nam say insurance o ye enti for the next 40 years ni sika insurance be ma omo no ebetimi ahwe busia no wo san fie dodo no.
So this is something that, so again, it is not a lack of faith to have insurance. It is not a lack of faith.
And insurance.
Exactly. When you look at houses, when you put some cameras and those things, it doesn't mean you stop praying.
What the camera
Okay, so those things are something that we need to think about. So let's go to wealth distribution, and then we almost come into an end, and then I can open up the floor. Okay, so wealth distribution is very important. We talked about this the other time, estate planning. What we say that again, it's important that you don't just create wealth, but you must protect it, preserve it, and must be able to transfer it to your children. That is called estate planning. As God said to Isaiah, to Hezekiah, set your house in order, for thou shalt surely die. We need to set our houses in order. And to talk about this, many of us as Adventists don't have wills. So if you die today, you are leaving chaos to your family. Make sure you have a will. I can tell you this, I've heard stories, when you die without a will, your children will fight for whatever is left. Many children are not speaking to one another simply because mommy and daddy left no will. So what's important is that you need to make a will so that everything is very clear. My will is very clear. My wife and I have a will. What does it say? It says if I die, everything goes to my wife. If she dies, everything comes to me. If me and my wife are going for a drive, both of us, God forbid, we die, everything goes to our 3 children. If God forbid, my wife and I, my 3 kids are traveling to church, God forbid something happens and we all die, everything we have is divided between her family and my family. It's all clear, it's all written down. And the Bible is very clear. Set your house in order. Again, famous people who have died without wills, and again, it caused chaos when these people died. Why? They died young. They never thought they would die. But death comes to everybody, as we've been learning in our quarter. And also for people who've got young children, again, it is a will that you use to choose who's going to be a guardian for your children. If you've got young children, the person whom you're going to choose to look after your children is called a guardian. That person is in your will. When our kids were young, in our will we said, if anything happens to me and my wife, my sister will look after those children.
Yes,
because the question is that if you don't come home tonight, what's going to happen to your children? If they are older, that's fine. But if they are young, who's going to look after them? During COVID, Ernest died. A single mother, she left about, I think, a 6-year-old. And the 6-year-old was being looked after by church people, but again, nobody was claiming responsibility because why? She didn't choose a guardian. And then she says in councils and stewardship, she says, death will not come sooner just because you made a will. Some people believe when you make a will, it means you're going to die. She says death will not come sooner whether you've made a will or not. It's not going to change anything. Okay, I think last time we talked about trust. Trusts are very important. Again, this is an agreement where you can put your house, your property, your shares, your money into a trust on behalf of your children. So if I have my house, it's in my name and my wife's name, but we can choose to put it in a trust. When we do that, it's no longer in my name, it's in the name of the trust. So therefore, when they look at the land registry, that house is not in my name, because why? My wife and I have put it into a trust on behalf of my children who are the beneficiaries.
And you know, trust say trust no
so if somebody wants to sue me, they want to come for the biggest thing I have, that's my house. But when they come to my house, they discover it's not my house anymore because it's not in my name, it's in the trust. This is what people do to protect what they have. And we talked about this last time about relationship claims. If I die today, my house jointly own it between me and my wife. So if I pass away today, that house goes to my wife, 100%. But if my wife chooses to remarry, that house doesn't belong to my wife anymore, it belongs to both of them. That is called right of survivorship. The law is very clear. When you choose to marry somebody, when somebody dies in the UK, the first question they ask, why you married or in a civil partnership? It doesn't matter whether your husband is contributed or your wife is contributed. The fact that you are married, everything becomes jointly owned. And you know, okay, so therefore, if you leave your house to your daughter, your daughter is a good husband. They have problems after 2 years. They decide to divorce. The house, you have left it to your daughter, but because you're married, the husband is also rights to that house. So how does that make you feel? So therefore, it's very clear. There's this actor, and she says, yeah, I'm a marvelous housekeeper. Every time I leave a man, I keep the house.
Okay.
Okay, so let me give you an example. Here's a house owned by Kofi Ade. They own a house. Kofi dies, Ade owns the house because she's the wife.
Okay.
Okay, so Ade goes to Brixton Church, meet Peter, they decide to get married. So Peter is a vegan, he's very fit and well. Fortunately, Ade dies before Peter. Okay, so Peter now what? Inherits the house. Okay, now Peter has children from his previous marriage. So what does he do? He can now give this house to his children from a previous marriage, leaving out the wife, the children from his second wife. But if this house was put in a trust, the house will be safe. Okay, now number 3 again, when we talk about this, when you go into care in the UK, NHS care is free at the point of need. You do not pay a penny.
NHS care no,
but if you go into a nursing home or a care home, your house will be sold. Because social care is not free in the UK. That is why in that article it says homes are sold a week to pay for elderly care. Not a year, not a month, a week.
Every week we are if you 400.
So that house that you have, that you want to leave to your children, if you go into care, that house will be sold eventually. But this house put in a trust, this house can be protected. So these are the things that the wealthy people know, but the ordinary people do not know these things. There are many church members whose homes are being sold because of this. The only other way, if you cannot afford to have a trust, the only other way is to ask your children to look after you when you're older. But there is no guarantee your children will look after you. Why? Because your son may be in Canada, your daughter may be in Manchester. How are they going to look after you? You may say, well, I'll go and live with them. Yes, you may go and live with them, but maybe then you may have dementia coming in. You leave the tap running, you leave the stove on, and now your daughter and husband are fighting over you. Look at what your father is doing. So it's going to be difficult. There is no guarantee your children will look after you, even though they may want to do so. So what I'm saying to you is that think about these things as church people. Lastly is that, again, if you got a child with special needs, again, you put that money in a trust. Because the government gives money to people who are disabled and with special needs. But before they give them that money, they first check to find out if they have any resources. But if you've left them money, the government will say, your parents have left you money, so therefore you cannot have access to state resources. Why? Because you're eligible to self-pay. So therefore what you do is you leave that money in a trust, and you tell the trustees to top up what the government is giving your child. Lastly, if you leave your money to your children can spend that money. The Bible says the prodigal son went and spent his father's wealth in riotous living. If you leave money to your children, they may not value the struggle you had to leave that money or to make that amount of money. So therefore, they may use it wastefully. So therefore, you do not leave money to your children. You put it in trust. So I would tell the trustees that I've left 100,000 to my child, to my son. Give him 20,000 when he's 25 years old. Give him 30,000 when he's 45 years old. Give him the rest when he's 60 years old. Whatever you have. Why? Because if he makes a mistake at the beginning, he's only wasted 25,000.
So why yes say 1 year mistake 25,000
Yeah, but if you leave the whole 100,000, what if he makes a mistake, you lose all that amount of money.
100,000 the man so you mistake and not 100,000
So that's why it's good to have a trust. Again, it's very important because again we need to understand this thing. A good example, somebody told me a husband died. He left hundreds of thousands to his wife, and the brother's wife, went to a sister, to the sister, said, "Sister, there's a business deal happening in this. Give me the money, and then I can use that money for the business, and then I'll bring you back your money." Again, that money was lost. So again, all those things are important. So just because you left the money to a husband and to your wife, they can be foolish with that amount of money.
nhwesodie bi a obi maame obi gya sika bebree de ma ne re no nua me ma no ka kyerɛ sɛ mahu business bi a metumi de akwa fa sika no ma me ɔde ma no sika no ɛkɔhyɛ.
So these are things that are important. And finally, we talked about a power of attorney. If you lose your capacity today and you cannot make decisions, somebody has to make decisions for you. That person is called your power of attorney.
Say bibi to na se adwemu hawa na bibi ti wankasa wutimi si gina wo bibi ho a e wo se obi ne si gina edema o eno na broni ka se power of attorney no.
So we've got two types of power of attorney. There's one for your health and one for your finances.
Ye was niema yi mienu baako eye wankasa wapomuden mu de na baako nso eye usikasam ho de.
How many of you think that you can call your bank, you call your husband's bank or your wife's bank and ask them how much is in their account? How many think that is possible?
Nipa hin na dwen se obitimi afa wo bank na ukunu bank na bank no wabisom sika sen na ewo ho.
Even if you tell them I've got a marriage certificate, I'm married to my wife or my husband, they will not tell you. The thing they will ask you is they want a letter of authority or a power of attorney.
And found certificate at the Quackre or more da. Niombe so me here crata a say you are mountain who quines near Manon.
So these things are important because again, when that happens, now if you don't have it, you're going to go to the court of the public guardian, pay some money. It's going to take a long time only to access your husband's money. Obviously, if you got a joint account, that is different. But if your husband has money and shares and other businesses separate, you have no access to that amount of money unless you got a power of attorney.
And it's a one power of attorney we nasa say kunufri mana yufri na pese when sako kasika bi one account man kwasam ne say ye.
So the power of attorney could be your daughter, your wife and your daughter, or your husband and your son. So they come together, they make decisions on your behalf. Very, very important.
And power of attorney.
Okay, so legacy planning is about bringing everything into the future, bringing everything into the present, from the future into the present. So in the Bible, in 2 Kings, there is this story. It says here, the widow of a member of a group of prophets went to Elisha and said, "Sir, my husband has died. And as you know, he was a God-fearing man. He was a good Adventist. But now he owed money. The man whom he owed money to has now come to take my sons as slaves to make payment for my husband's debt."
Mikunu ewu na so no odeka nti akadifo no abase wo ba be fa me ba na odi atika.
So it's important that we do not leave our wives in this situation.
Nti ehu hia se yenya yere no mo ewo satibia yi mo.
So before David died, he left the plans, he left the money, he left all the resources for Solomon to build his temple.
Nti answer na David bewu no oje bia de mane ba Solomon se odi besi asorofie no.
Okay, this is the final one, worth preservation, and then you open it up for flow. So this is the time when we are now getting to the sunset of our lives, we're getting towards retirement. So first and foremost, we talk about pensions. Okay, fine. The government knows that not so many people are saving enough money for their pension. So therefore, the government is encouraging you to save enough money for your pension.
Government government no said
so therefore, what I'm saying to you is that let us look after our money now so that it will look after us tomorrow when you don't feel like working. One day, your body is going to be tired and you want to rest. You get to your pension age. Make sure you've got enough money for your pension.
And can I say, there
are three main types of pension. The first pension is your state pension. When you get paid on your pension, you've got national insurance. So that money is going towards your state pension. And when you contribute for 35 years, then you get the full state pension. And contribute for 35 years, and then it comes to roughly about £200 a month. A week.
And £200 per week.
So it's not enough for you to live on.
Because
if you think about it, you are earning something like what? Maybe 1,500, 2,000, and now you are earning just £800. So it is not a lot. So this is the state pension. That's the money you will get when you reach state pension age.
And
for those of you who are also working, you have what is called the work-based pension. This is where you contribute every month and your bosses contribute as well. I'll give you a personal example. So I'm putting in about £300 a month, £300 to £400 a month. And my employer is putting in £500 a month. So it's coming to about £800 a month going towards my pension.
And £800
and this is something that you need to think about. You need to call your pension provider and find out and get a pension calculation. So for me, when I called them, they told me when I retire, if God allows me to live to retirement age, I'll be getting about £1,000 a month. That's my work-based pension. On top of that, I'll get the £800 for my state pension. In all, £1,800.
And no, send a mention, she and say, some call a Bosumi Bakubiano, meet me Anya £1,800.
So wherever you work, you can find out who is your pension provider. You've got an administrator. They can give you a pension calculation so that you understand and know whether your pension is going to be enough to look after your needs.
And to be no much show, Sika, now one can work a creating who says,
finally, you can have a private pension for those people who are working certain jobs, working on your own, and maybe you're a builder, you're a plumber, you must get a private pension again, because again, that's the money that will look after you.
Now, the idea we know so your private pension, the one casa, now by yes, answer to true one casa, Edumano.
So again, the only person who will take care of the older you is the younger you today. So again, make sure you do what you can and do it quickly because time is going. Again, 70 years is not a long time. So we must make sure we do what we can now to make sure we go to Finally, if I say to you there's a special bank account, what is this special bank account?
Your bank account being so
if I tell you there's a special bank account which gives you interest, not 1% or 2%, but gives you even 5 to 8% interest every month, that's special bank.
Your bank would be a make say between 5 to 8%.
And also every time you put £100, the bank gives you an extra £20 on top of that.
So hard, they be £100 between or extra £20.
They give you tax relief.
I feel so tax I was say your brain as a.
What if I tell you that this bank, the money you put in, they force your bosses to put in extra money on your behalf? And what if I tell you this money is untouchable? And this money grows tax-free. And finally, when you get to retirement age, you can draw 25% tax-free. And live on the rest. Would you want to find out what bank that is? And that bank is your pension. Yeah, so this is it. So that money is going to look after you. So again, there are many advantages. Now, as we get older, do you know, and I'm asking you as church members, do you know if what you have right now in your pension can get you to where you want to go? You won't know because you're not asking the questions. When you go to work, you can find out who is your pension provider. And get calculation to make sure you understand where you are going, so that if you know the money is not going to be enough, then you can start doing other things to make sure you have enough income.
Now,
when you retire.
if you says can soon di abrabekwa umejemu na fi washa say yen hihye foforo dia cancer.
It's been shown in one study that many people are more afraid of outliving their money in retirement than dying.
Ebinum omu hihwemu kire say omu suro kura mpo say wo be ye onya sika abra wo be ko ahomejemu.
So do not guess, you must know how much you're going to get.
Enti e wo say ohu ne wo benya say
because it is a predictable outcome rather than a probable outcome. If you go on a plane today and the pilot says to you, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to take off, there's a 50% chance we're going to arrive at our destination. Nobody will stay in that plane. Why? Because that's a probable outcome. You want a predictable outcome. And for us to get into retirement age, we must be sure, because we cannot afford to be wrong, because in retirement you cannot get a loan. Finally, we talk about our children. We also plan for our children, and one of the ways we can do that is to create investments for them, which we call trust, which I have, and I may give you some examples of actual income that my kids are having. But just to show you a good example, just to show you how this works. Okay, fine. Let's say you've got your daughter or your son and they're working and they're earning some money, and you find them an investment vehicle that's giving them, say, 10% interest rate per year. And you say to your son or your daughter, all I want you to do is just put in £100 a month. That's all I want you to do. The rest you can spend it, but just put £100 a month in this investment vehicle, give you 10%. If your child starts at 25 years old doing that, when they get to retirement age, they will have £637,000. Just putting £100 a month.
Every month, £100.
But if your son says, Daddy, Mommy, you're giving me pressure, I'll do it next year when I'm 26. They can do that. They would make £576,000, and they would have saved 1,200 by waiting 1 year.
And 576,000 now, or so.
If they do it when they are 30, they make 382,000.
And so, 382,000.
And they would have lost 254,000. Just waiting 5 years, they make what? 382,000, but they've lost 254,000. If they wait until they are 40, they make 133 and lose 503,000. So it's important to start early. Okay, these are two accounts of my children that I have. So these are investment ISAs. And again, it's something you need to know about when you find places where you can put your money. So my younger daughter has money in financials, 27%, oil and gas, industries, basic materials, healthcare, and telecommunications and technology. That's my young daughter. She's only 12. Okay, so when we started this, she's 12 at the moment, and her money is over £24,000. She's only 12. My other daughter, her money is more spread out because she was a bit older again. And again, when she went to university this year, we were planning to buy a house. Why? Because she had enough money to get a deposit. Again, she's only 18, but she has enough money to deposit a house. So again, these are things that we need to do. So finally, why is important? There are many. We talked about debt management, savings, emergency, estate planning, pensions, and retirement. And again, if I was to ask you, out of these 5. Which is the most important one? Which one should you start first?
Matrapoye enum na ewo hon se yebehwe yakasu eye yebekura sika na afi yebehwe adapade na afi yahomegie mu na afi insurance ne hepa na mufi se ehia.
Which one should you start first? Anyone? Yes? Savings, anyone? Investments, other people? Okay, third one, fourth one, okay. Yeah, unless your answer is number 5, the other answers are wrong. Why? Because number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, they take time to build.
Say what answer no nye sunum na chese utwa hwe san say number 1, number 2, number 3 and 4 ni na no family answer na ni.
So if anything happens to you while you are building, that means you've got nothing left.
Enti se bibi eto abra na enyini na se woni bibi
because if number 5 is taken care of, it means that if anything happens to you, that lump sum amount of money will take care of number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. But if you got an investment, no matter how much it gives you, it may not give you a lot if you die early.
Yes, investment be na simple free mo entimi enhwe bibia nanso so wo insurance ebetimi ahwe newo animu ni nyina.
Yes, so just an example. So if I got a good investment that's giving me say £500 a month, and if I die after 6 months, my wife will get about £3,000.
And it is a investment be £500 a month. Na se me wu entemwa. Yeah, me £3,000 no.
But if I'm insured for 500,000, if I die after 6 months, my wife gets 500,000. If I ask my wife, what do you want, £3,000 or 500,000 pounds? I know what the answer will be. Why? Because there is no guarantee that I may live up to that time.
And to say, me ewusisi na me insurance, and I say, bibi to me na say, me insurance. Instead of 3,000, and come on here and meet me anya 500,000 a day, aman.
And finally, as I conclude, the greatest disappointment is to find out that what you assumed to be true was not. When I speak to families, people are shocked to find out that what they thought they had, is not. They pay for insurance policies for something they do not fully understand. A husband dies, he leaves his wife. The wife is, after grieving, the wife looks at the policy, she finds the husband's policy. She's excited. It says £300,000. She calls the insurance company on Monday to find out the husband, because he died of stroke, the husband had a policy called accidental policy. So it only pays out if he has an accident. So now the wife is angry at the husband. Why didn't my husband know what he was paying for? Many people are paying insurance policies. They do not know what they have.
Insurance obi enya suahunu bia kwasam se no fee se sika e da ho no nyina koma no afi on kwhwe policy no ahu se da bi on qualify enji sika no.
Yes, know what you have, because again, otherwise when you need it, it's going to be too late. You may discover you the wrong thing.
And hu dia wo pe na afi wo hwehwe mu enya sa wan bia na bekachi.
Okay, and then before opening it up for questions, I'm going to read you a quotation from Testimonies for the Church, Volume 4.
The Testimony for the Church, Volume 4.
And then she says, belief in the near coming of the Lord in the clouds of heaven will not cause the true Christian to become neglectful and careless of ordinary business in life. The waiting ones who look for the soon coming of Jesus Christ will not be idle, but diligent in business. And then finally she says, their work will not be done carelessly or dishonestly, but with fidelity and thoroughness. Those who flatter themselves that careless intention in the things of this life is evidence of spirituality will soon discover that they are under deception. So just because you're a Christian just because you're waiting for the second coming of Christ, it does not mean that you can be careless with your financial planning.
Na waka no se ne wakochere amaye no je se se wo ye Kristo no enche se wa brabo basa transe wadwene se Nyankopon ebanti wo de wo nya nhyeche bia enye sa na o kire.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions?
Sabe ye bie ato ho wa se misbi na se watwera betimi amehu se so petoje kasamu na no age na fe wa bi se wasem na fe yi ano.
Any questions?
Yes, a question.
Yes, one.
Yeah, my one question.
Okay.
Yeah, my question is no lasting power of attorney. Let me find out when is the right time for someone to take or to ask for lasting power of attorney. The right time.
Okay.
Yeah, you were talking about lasting power of attorney.
Yes.
And I just want to find out, or I want you to explain to us, when is the right time for someone to push for lasting power of attorney?
Okay. The right time for power of attorney.
Okay, so the power of attorney is needed now when you still have capacity.
Some now say power of attorney now or can asem no say mobeka ya or bibi say ebeduru na adwene mu no ebema wankasa ginaye bi wo ha wa wuntimi nsi gise obi na sisa ginaye no amawo.
Because once you lose your capacity, then the power of attorney cannot work. So you do it now while you've got capacity. When you lose capacity, it is too late.
Ntino samre ya wadwene wo ho no na abetimi ayesa power of attorney. Say wadwene duru ba bi ntimi nsi na wuntimi yes power of attorney no.
Yes. Thank you. Good question.
When he was talking, you said that your child, when he's like 25 years, and he deposits £100 a month, it means you're going to get a certain amount at a specific time. 40, you get a different amount. So where are you going to deposit the money? Is it your rare bank, or do you have special place that we can do that?
Okay.
Yeah, I think one, I didn't really get the point, but I think he was talking about the point that you make. You can put your money in trust, and when the child is maybe 20, they should give him this amount.
Yes, he said
No.
yes.
Yes.
He said that when your child is like 25,
Oh, yes.
first question is, when can he start like 18, or what specific time that the child can start putting £500 a month?
Oh, okay.
That's the first question. And the second question is, like, when he puts 25, how much is gonna get?
Okay, I think I'm getting two questions if I get you right. Okay, fine. You talked about trust as well, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so a trust, anybody can do a trust. So a trust basically is that you may choose maybe 3 people or 5 people to be trustees. And then obviously you say, when I pass away, this is trust. No. Talk about investments.
I'm talking about when in your savings, like...
Oh, savings. He's talking about savings.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay.
When you spoke about investment ISA,
Yes.
you were talking about a child of 25 years. You can advise them to start saving £100.
Yes.
And you made some calculations
Yes.
of when they will get up
Yes.
to something. So I think the question is more about where do they put that money?
Okay.
But you made mention of investment ISA.
Yes. That's a good question, and thank you, my brother. Okay. So basically, as I said before, if you put money in the bank, it's not doing anything. So for my children, we opened up with the company-specific investment ISAs. So basically, it means that when you put money every month, that money then is invested in several companies. So when you do that, that money then grows faster. You can start with ISAs. Some ISAs you can start even before the children are born, or you can even start when they are 14, whatever it is, they can have those ISAs. So there are investment ISAs that you can put that money into. I don't know what you're talking about.
Specific banks that we can do that one. Because I know that some banks, they do ISA.
Yes.
But it's not like children's ISA. It's
Yes.
maybe the adults one.
Yes. So
I want the one for the children that every month if you put £100,
yes,
you're gonna have interest.
Yes. So there are many investment vehicles than banks. So when you put your money in the bank won't give you what they have. And sometimes if the bank is an ISA, they give you what is called a cash ISA, which is nothing. Or the bank will only open up what are called trust funds for your children. Again, they don't give you a lot. And this is why it's important that you understand that there are many, many other institutions who can give you much better income than your bank. And again, you can get in contact with me. I can give you some places which I use for my children, and I can show you exactly how it is performed. Let me give an example. So my young daughter, the one who is 12, who's got about 24,000, just about 2 years ago, she had about 14,000, but it jumped up recently. Why? Because part of her money is in a company that does petrol and oil and gas. So her money is spread in those places. So therefore it means that when the petrol and the oil is high, she makes more money. At the moment, she's also got money in energy. So right now, when the energy goes up, she's making more money. She's only 12 years old. And each day she goes to bed, she's waking up wealthier than the day she went to bed. On Monday, she will be richer than she was today. Why? Because her money is put in vehicles that will make her money grow. Yeah. And again, the banks may not guide you into this, and that's why you need certain financial institutions which can help you. Good.
Okay, I understand that, like, the child is not up to the time now he's working. At the moment that you're 12-year-old is not working, I don't think so. So, are you supplying the money or you are paying the money into the child's account?
Okay.
Because if I don't want my name to show.
No, it's okay. Sir, I think what you need to advise us is that the figures show there are for illustration.
Yes.
There's not a specific product that pays 10% compound interest.
Yes.
Over 10%. It's illustration only.
Yes.
The second point you've got to do is that she needs to sit down for her specific one and get specific advice. Yeah. It's something you cannot do here in public.
Okay.
You understand? Because she wants to know, she wants to tell me, go to Barclays, there's an account called this, it pays 10% compound interest. If you open it Monday, by the time your child is, they'll get that amount. That kind of advice, you need to do on a one-to-one basis with
that's fine. Yeah, she can contact me. Any piece of paper, there is a scan, you can contact me. Yeah, the bank is not interested in you making money. Yeah. So the bank is not going to give you these
and your money be one-on-one. Now watch it or send a yeah.
Any other questions on anything?
Yeah, okay, Sister Kasa.
Bismarck, me pacho mo can say, me pan say, my old, na me wo me fear. Na afi ye de be call care home no. E was say ye to me fear na ye de fear na. Enti some insurance dey betimi etua kana still ye beto me fear. And me question to so me no. Me fan say ye wo insurance bi wo pa. Sa insurance metimi aya said de me yare me person me call private hospital. Because NHS sometimes if you are 3 months, 4 months, but private they won't sell straight. Insurance be or horse.
Okay, great. Two beautiful questions. Yes. The first one is where you made mention of the fact that if you are old and you have to go to care home,
yes,
even if you own a house, they can sell it and take care of you. If she had insurance already to cover up those things, are they still going to sell the house?
No.
That's the first question.
Yeah, because you can use your money because you become a self-funder. But it's just to let you know that the cheapest nursing homes are around £800 a week. The good ones are around £1,000 a week. Yes, but if you got your own money, then that's okay. But don't forget, you can use your own money. But if you got a life insurance pays out after you've died. Does that make sense? That's a different thing.
Okay, great. And second one, is there any insurance that can cover up private health care?
Yes, there are many. Most of you know you can get Bupa, you can get many of those. So that type of insurance, the money doesn't come to you, it goes to Bupa, and they look after you. But with critical health insurance, the money comes to you, and then you can then choose what you want to do. Does that make sense? So the health insurance, the money doesn't come to you, it goes to the private company. But with critical life insurance, the money comes to you, and then you can do whatever you want with it.
Is there are some?
Yes.
Yes, let's see.
Sorry, thank you. My question is that I don't get very clear to the trust. Yes. Which people can I appoint them as a trustee? Because I don't know, you mentioned about trust. How am I going to do it?
Yeah, that's very true. Yes, that's very true. So a trust, so again, just to give you a guide, a trust involves me and my wife. We have things that we need to give to our children. So we put our house in the trust, okay? So we are the owners of the trust, and it's for our children, the beneficiaries. So that's a trust. So I need somebody who will take care of those things when he dies, and those are the trustees who will make sure that whatever we have left written behind can be done.
Okay, you watch say a trust now. On ne yere ena oma na maka majapade nyina gum na wo de akwaja ebi baabi ana se obi ana se ebi no mo se omo nhwe so emam se mo de ajapade ne koja omo hwe mama enimu di mu bion enti se wo de ka bi kura mpo ye a woni ajapade bia bion e wo obi nsam enti no yenti me fasa ga no se ye to wo de akwesi enti se abo ne ye enti se wo ma no ebia trust no so nhihye ewum obetumi aka ebia se yewu a me ba no momfa na amfa ma no anase momfa ni na amfa ma masi anase akora ne di fiesi amoma ne sei odi fiesi amoma ne sei enti akoye wo awusika ba wo bo ho ba wo de akokoshe ba bi a enni winsam but ewo ebinu winsam. But the question is who can be the trustee?
This is what I'm coming to now. So the trustees are, number one, you can use their companies out there which can be trustees, or you can choose 5 people whom you trust. So, for example, let's say I'm here. I would choose my elder to be a trustee, for example. I would choose a pastor. I would choose somebody from the conference. I can choose somebody here. So these 5 people here are the trustees. Okay, so I choose people who most likely be younger than me. What do? Every time, once a year, they have a meeting. What is the meeting all about? The meeting is about everything I've left concerning my child. So they sit down and say, okay, fine. What is, what does she want? Have we done this? Have we done this? They do everything for her. And they make sure that whatever things I have written down, they effect those things. So these are people whom you trust. The reason why the word trust is important is because a long time ago, when people went to war, some of them were wealthy, so they knew if they go to war, they may not come back. So what did they do? They chose friends whom they trust to look after their property while they've gone to war. And sometimes they go to war for many, many years, 10 years or so. So these are trustees. So these have to be people whom you trust. So you choose several people. They sit down, and all their main concern is about your wife or your children. That's all they care for, to make sure your child has everything that you've written down here.
Trustees in your private companies or more trustees are with me at your or my age. Man, I want to with me choosing for the trustees, not Japadeno, Asho Monsano, make sure says senior person or my yenasa at the amount.
A good example. One more thing about trustees. So there is a family that died, left money in the hands of trustees for their son. The son gets married, okay? And the son and his wife buy a house. To buy the house, the trustees then lend 300,000 for them to buy a house. Okay, they buy the house, everything is okay. After a year or two, they have problems and they decide to divorce. Now, if they divorce, obviously half of the money is going to go. So what happened? Because the trustee borrowed money to the son to buy the house, they simply ask for that money back. then whatever was left, then they divided. So it means that money, 300,000, still stayed in the family. Right. That is what trustees do. They make sure, okay, so for example, if the trustees know, okay, you've left your son and your daughter has got a dodgy boyfriend, and they know that once your daughter marries the dodgy boyfriend, soon her money becomes his money. Soon it becomes their money, and soon he takes over the money. They can decide not to give her the money for the time being until they make sure everything is okay. So trustees are just like parents looking after the welfare of your children. Very, very important. The rich are always doing it. It's only us who don't think about those things, but many people have trust to protect whatever they have. Yeah. Yes, my brother.
Yes, just to ask a further question to the trustee.
Yes.
I think you said that there are private organizations who will do that. Yeah. So I'm sure those who have their legal backing, kind of, they will be able to do things legally for you. Now, if you choose to select people, 4 people or 5 people within the church or in the community, for me, it's something like that becomes more like a private arrangement. Now, if you probably put something like money, it's probably straightforward. If you put, say, 100,000, they can see to it how to be distributed or what time they give it to your children or something like that. But if you put, say, a house, okay, so if I have bought a house, I have a mortgage, legally, my name is on that mortgage. Now I go and look for 5 people and tell them I'm putting this in a trust. At what point do we legalize this arrangement? At what point does this move from a private arrangement to like a public arrangement, such that if I am not there or if I am old or something like that, that house will not be sold? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
So first and foremost, as long as you've got a mortgage, the house is not technically yours and cannot be put in a trust. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah. If you got a mortgage and the house is not yours at the moment, it cannot be put in a trust because technically you don't own it until you paid it off. Okay, so that's something. Yeah. And also a trust is a legal document. So again, the trustees, there are certain laws that the government expects them to maintain. So it's not just something that is just a simple thing because again, it's monitored by the government. Yeah, so a house, as long as it is not paid off, is technically still not yours. It's only when it is paid off.
Do not say trustees no. The church said this idea you are Japadie. Won't mean fa eka enko trustee or won't mean say who mortgage na se won't mean fa enko trustee because technically no enya wo dan ansa. Nti ade ye wa Japadie wo tua ho kan ye wo de no. And a bit me akọ trustee ho no oma akọbọ ho by na fe so emra e wo ho mmra nyina no ye de betoto ho ansa na timi aye adwuma. Okay,
so I think all you're saying, I think time is gone. So all I'm just saying to us is one question, yes.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Elder. My question, I think it will benefit most people my age, mate, and the younger generation. We tend to have student loans, and obviously in order to get a good job in this day and age, you have to go for student finance and get student loans, and then we are cautioned against having debts. So in your view, what would be the best way to advise young people like me, in terms of paying our student finance debt? Should we do an investment and then try to pay it off in a lump sum, which is what majority of us are thinking of doing? Or is it better to start chipping away some of the the money, the debt, by paying every single month? What would be your advice to us? Thank you.
That's a good question. Yeah. So obviously there is some debt which you cannot avoid. So if you're buying a house, you need to get a mortgage. And the mortgage